Hello, good evening, and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Tonight on the program, we put the spotlight on developing issues within the polity, especially against the aftermath of the 102nd NEC meeting of the PDP that gave a defining verdict on zoning, as well as some of the other issues around what is to come in 2027. So we had a special sit-down, a one-on-one with a PDP Chieftain, Dr. Gbenga Hashim, on not just the controversies within the PDP, but on the state of the Nigerian economy, the management under the Tinubu administration, as well as what it means for Nigerians going into the next general election. Here's our exclusive. Thank you so much for taking the time for going to this interview.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Why do you think the decision of the PDP following its 102nd NEC meeting has remained a polarizing figure or polarizing conversation within the PDP, despite everything that is stacked up against the party ahead of 2027?
Well, I think it's good that we're having healthy debates. That's one of the strengths of the PDP. It's a truly democratic party where you have a lot of internal debates. That's how we started it. That's the difference between the PDP and the APC, which is more like a cult. No debates, no meeting. Some people just hand down instructions and there are no challenge. So it's good for democracy that we're having this healthy, it's an healthy debate. Though the subject of the matter might be quite polarizing because it has the potential to pitch one section of the country against another. And that's why every patriotic Nigerian, including those who are not even members of the PDP, are getting involved in this discussion. The founders of the PDP, of which I was one of them, in 1998, did not put in the constitution of the PDP that you will be zoning presidency from one section and then another time you zone it turn by turn. It was never done like that.
But some would say, Doctor, this is not alien to the PDP.
It is alien to the PDP. You know, most of the people who are trying to interpret the history of the PDP now were not there when the PDP was formed. I was there. We had an issue then, which was the annulment of June 12th. And some of the founders of the PDP were thinking in their wisdom that, look, because of this, let's look for a competent candidate so that you can deal with the issue of annulment of June 12th. So get the context correctly. It was not a question of an agreement to be zoning and rotating presidency. There was no such thing. And in doing that, they didn't preclude any candidate from any other section of the country from contesting. Alhaji Rimi contested from the Northwest in the PDP convention of 1999. So we had Dr. Alex Ekweme, who also said he was going to contest from the Southeast, even though the main issue was the annulment of the June 12th. That was the immediate background, and it was not from the Southwest. But he contested, and nobody stopped him. You had people like Francis Ella, Alagwa Graham Douglas. Now, most of the people who today are governors and who are controlling the PDP were not even in politics in 1998. So they don't understand the context of those things. And my attention was also drawn to the fact that there could have been some aberration that had been smuggled into the constitution of the PDP, now saying that you could zone and blah, blah, blah. But if you go and import what is inconsistent with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria into your constitution as a party, it is null and void to the extent of that inconsistency. The constitution of the party must be in sync with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is the grand norm. And the Constitution of Nigeria is against any practice by any political party that will exclude any qualified person from any region on account of their ethnicity or states that they come from or gender. This is very clear in the Constitution. And there is no time in the history of Nigeria when any party had precluded other people from contesting, even though political leaders may have preference to want to pick a candidate from a certain section. They don't take a decision or exclude any other person from other areas. They would rather allow their votes to speak for them at the National Convention. As I have told you, not only in 1999, even in 2003, President Obasanjo, as a sitting president, was challenged at the Eagle Square by Alhaji Rimi and Chief Barnabas Gbenga and Ekweme again. He was a sitting president. But I think this aberration came during the Jonathan time, when they were just doing whatever they liked. They were cooking up new constitution and saying we have to zone, we have to do turn by turn, and they put all kinds of things in the PDP constitution at that time, which they now probably they are citing or quoting or relying upon. And that was why Jonathan lost power. Jonathan lost power because he lacked the confidence to participate in a transparent primary, like Obasanjo did. He never contested election in his life. He was always deputy to somebody, and something happens, he becomes governor, something happens, he becomes president. So he was afraid to really have a competitive primary. And because he did that, some governors in the North stormed out of the party. And the result was that the PDP was defeated. You know, that thing that he did cost him victory, cost PDP victory. Now, in this contest, the people who are advocating about zoning PDP presidency to the South are also the same people that are working for the re-election of President Tinubu. And they are not making any guise about it. So the song about zoning presidency of PDP to the South is a default campaign for President Tinubu's re-election.
Where do you factor in public sentiment about power rotation? Because there seems to be this growing concern about power shifting from the North to the South. And after the 8 years of Buhari, it only makes sense that the South produce the next president.
The South has produced Tinubu. And what has he achieved?
For 4 years.
Yeah, what has he achieved in 2 years? This has been a disaster in the economy. For 10 years of APC now.
You have seen enough to conclude that it's disastrous?
Oh, look. The GDP of the country now is $259 billion. The GDP of Nigeria in 2014 was $574 billion US. That's more than 50% shave contraction in the GDP. What evidence do you need? You know, in economics, when you have lack of growth for 2-3 quarters in succession, you say the economy has entered a recession. When you have a shave of about 10% in the GDP, like we talk about the Great Depression in America, it was only 10% shave of the GDP. About 50% shave in the GDP that has happened since APC took power till now, over 50% shave in the GDP, is unprecedented in economic history. That is, you can't call it a recession, you can't call it a depression, it's only a disaster.
So what do you do with public sentiment then about the next president, whether it's Bola Ahmed Tinubu or any other person coming from the South? Because there's this feeling...
Nigerian public is not interested in where the next president comes from. Nigerian people want security. All over the North, there are killings, either in the Northwest, Northeast, or North Central. Previously, the security problem was localized to Northeast. When the APC came, it became expanded to Northwest and North Central. The people of Northern Nigeria want a president that can give them security. They don't care where that president comes from. All right? The people of southern Nigeria, particularly young people, also want a competent president. It might interest you to know that in the last election, Tinubu did not win in the south. It was in the northwest that they had overwhelming votes. That's to tell you that the 2023 election was not a south versus north issue. He didn't win in the south. Tinubu did not win in the south. In fact, he lost Lagos. He didn't win even in Lagos, where he came from. So, right now, he's still going to lose in the south and he will lose in the north by the grace of God. Because what we have seen is disaster. Disaster in the economic front, disaster in national security, humongous corruption in government. So, the people of Nigeria, particularly young people, just want a competent president.
Right.
A president that will give them jobs, a president that will guarantee security, a president that will unite the country, not to divide the country. They are dividing the country. They are pitching the North against the South. That was not the vision of those who formed this country. Our founding fathers have always spoken about one Nigeria. Chief Obafemi Awolowo campaigned for Ernest Ikoli, an Ijaw man, against a fellow Ijebu man in Lagos. All right? J.S. Taka supported Sir Kashim, into the Benue State Assembly in a predominantly Christian Boko constituency to go to the regional Northern Assembly. Who cared about what your ethnicity was? Saudana, Sir Ahmadu Bello, was content to just be the premier of the northern region. He didn't care for a Gere man, a minority man from Bochi, to go and be prime minister in Lagos. He was not really interested. So that was how this country was created. The young actors in the political scene today, the governors, and the people running the stuff, they are dividing the country. They are destroying the unity of the country. They are not just destroying the economy. Every values that our founding fathers left us with, they are completely destroying. Even the values of probity. You see a young man who had never worked in his life, he will be boasting he has Rolls Royce, he has this, he has that. He has never done any job in his life. Those who led us to independence and who brought us to politics, they were credible people. Alhaji Chiroma, who was one of their disciples with whom we formed the PDP, he was central bank governor. He never had a piece of land in Abuja. Chief Solomon La had been governor in Plateau. He had been member of the House of Reps. He was chairman of the ruling party. He was minister for police affairs. He didn't have a single plot of land in Abuja until he died. That's the way we were taught. Those are the leaders who inspired us in politics.
Right.
So this is not who we are, all this shenanigans, all this nonsense. So we need young people to know that this is not who we have always been. We have not always been a country led by disastrous leaders we are seeing now.
You seem to believe that the decision of the PDP to go with the zoning formula is counterproductive. But talk to me about what you believe is the motivation for the NEC to toe this line.
I already told you that the pro-Tinubu campaigners
Within the PDP?
Overwhelmed the NEC. Most of the chairmen were not allowed to even speak, utter their own opinion. And some of them were protesting, and they are still protesting. They are going back to their various states speaking. Yesterday, the FCG endorsed me to continue and run, despite all those things. City leaders, all the stakeholders, You see more of this in various northern states, So they know that cannot stand. And of course, it cannot stand because what the NEC did is illegal. But the beauty of the PDP is that a future NEC can reverse this, or the National Convention can do so. And it has happened before. I was Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP in 1999. We were elected for 2 years. And we also had a group called the Group of 54 NEC members. I was their chairman. His Excellency Gige, then he was not Excellency then, he was the secretary of the group of 54 NEC members. Ahmed Guzo, who was Deputy Governor in Sokoto State, was Deputy Chairman to me. We had people like Ari Masha, all of us in that group, Ibeshi, and all those. Some of our colleagues in the NEC that were elected for 2 years alongside with them wanted to change our tenure to 4 years. I would have been a beneficiary because I was a member of NEC. They wanted it to be automatic. So myself and my colleagues, Ibeshi, Arimasha, we said no. We were elected for only 2 years. We can't change it to 4 years. Some people came to me, oh, Gbenga, you are still behaving as if you were a student union leader in those days. This is politics. It benefits you. I said, what do I care a hoot? You want to lay a dangerous precedent. We were elected for 2 years. How can you change it to 4 years? They say, because governors are 4-year president. Okay, but this is the Constitution. If you want to change it, you go and amend the Constitution at a national convention. And never amended it, then you will contest for that 4 years because you cannot apply the amendment retroactively. Some NEC people fought us. They even suspended us from the party then. We went to court, we came back. Then we went to the National Convention. We defeated them at the National Convention. The National Convention took our position against the NEC. So it's not the fault. Most of the people who are doing this thing then have not joined politics. Some of them probably have not even attended university 25 years ago. So they don't know where we came from to get to where we are now.
But the governor
so the party is a robust party with a self-correcting mechanism internally. And I like it. That's what democracy is all about. Sometimes even big organs of the party can make errors, but they can correct themselves.
Do you think there's room for a pivot where the PDP could course correct this particular? Because
this is not going to be the last NEC before the primary. There you have many other national executive committees.
I mean, the convention.
Or you will have a convention which is even superior than the NEC. And at any point in time, you want a special convention. If you have enough signatures and follow the process, you can call it a special convention. So there are many possibility in the constitution of the party to remedy this anomaly. It's an error that could be corrected.
What do you make of the body language of some of the people who have
And to be quite honest, even the chairman of the party came on BBC as a service to say, look, this does not stop anybody from contesting. You know, they know that it's against the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And to that extent, it is null and void.
What do you make of the body language of some of the leading figures in the PDP who seem to be pushing this narrative that the PDP needs to go south for its choice of candidates? I mean, Professor Jerry Gana spoke recently and
I don't read body language. I have no time for that.
But what about what they're saying?
What people do. But I know that what they are doing is a default campaign for Asiwaju's re-election.
But they're mentioning people like Jonathan, Peter Obi, for instance, in the mix.
Look, I have said all of those people are welcome. If Jonathan wants to come to PDP, I will be one of those to welcome him. But he must come to the National Convention and contest for primary. He's not the first president that PDP produced. President Obasanjo has more stature and experience than Jonathan. He was former head of state before he became president. And then when he was going for re-election, he submitted himself to primaries, competitive primaries. So there is nothing special about President Jonathan that will not make him to contest the primary if he wants to come to PDP. PDP is too big for those kind of shenanigans. So they are all welcome to the party primary, but they cannot say they want to exclude other people. It's not done like that. How can a minority man want to exclude majority people?
Do you want to clarify
Is that democracy?
Do you want to clarify that statement?
Yes, I want to clarify it. Look, I don't want us to inflame passion unnecessarily. I'm Hausa originally. My mother is Yoruba. These are the two largest ethnic groups in this country. But I find myself in the North Central, which is a minority, a region made up of minority. So, but I am biologically from the two largest ethnic groups. So you now go and make a constitutional maneuver to make somebody who is from the fourth or fifth ethnic group to stop me from running. So that is democracy to you. It's insanity. Complete insanity.
How does PDP get out of this catch-22 situation where it doesn't break the party again, just like it did in 2022?
Well, in 2022, it didn't break the party. It was just a question of indiscipline that the party condoned indiscipline in 2022. You had the primaries. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the Waziri Adamawa won. There's nothing to do again after you have lost the primary than, as a loyal party member, than to campaign for the winner. Dr. Alex Ekweme campaigned for Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. Alhaji Rimi campaigned for Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. Even though they were not excited that they lost the primary, but that is democracy. So you can't go and form some group of some people saying you are working. That's, I think it's just an aberration that the PDP has tolerated far too long. Yeah.
And do you think there's no way out of this? Because it looks
No,
like...
no, I've given you way out. I've told you that subsequent neck of the party can reverse this. There will be many neck meetings before the presidential primary. The 2027 is very far.
Given how convinced
It's
you
very
are...
far. And there is no limit to when neck can convey. Neck can convey every day if there is any need for it.
Given how convinced you are that there are people within the PDP working for the APC administration, how do you see this playing out?
They are minority, even though they are powerful and they have a lot of money to throw around because they are taking money from state coffers. They're not taking their own money. Most of them have never worked anywhere before. I've been in business for 34 years. I've never touched government money one day. And I've built businesses whose turnovers are bigger than most of the states that they run. You know, but most of them have never created such values. They have never done anything in their lives. So they take government money anyhow. It's so easy to corrupt anybody. But look, we have traveled this road before. And this is not the first time. In 1997-98, Abacha didn't want any other party to produce any candidate. He wanted to, I mean, we know what is happening. Tinubu wants to be the sole candidate in the next election. So he wants to destroy any other political party and plant midgets that will be pretending to be candidates. UNCP, DPN, CNC, GDM, and all these funny things. They all said they had adopted Abacha as the sole candidate. But you had one nice gentleman, one of the most principled people that I've ever met, MD Yusuf, former Inspector General of Police. We used to meet in Barnett Plaza. Then I was in his office in Barnett Plaza. Then I was deputy publicity, sorry, I said deputy. I was National Public Secretary of the National Democratic Labour Party. Abacha did not register. I was doing register ANC led by Chiroma and Babanga Chukwu and co, SPP led by. So we all marched together, those who were not registered, we were talking on the ground. And some of us will also go and meet with MD, who was still in GDM. MD was saying, okay, yes, I hear all of you have endorsed Abacha. But the constitution of this party says we'll have a national convention. I'm still going to run at the national convention. Let Abacha come to the national convention and contest against me. But as God will have it, there was even no need for that. God intervened and the rest is history. That God that intervened that time is still on the throne. He has not vacated that throne for anybody. So if anybody thinks that after 27 years of that ugly experience, they are going to take us through that route, they must be hallucinating.
Right. What do you say to Nigerians who are observing these developments with keen interest and are less than impressed with the implosion within the PDP?
No, it's not an implosion. It's not an implosion. You see, the problem is this. Because people have not seen robust debates like this before, particularly in the past 15 years. So any contest, they see it as implosion. It's not implosion. When President Obasanjo was coming, it was vigorously canvassed. In fact, they despised him, but he was still. Let me give you some personal experience, and it will interest you. Chief Sunday Awuni told me about something that, look, I understand what Obasanjo had gone through, if he's behaving somehow when he went to. He said when OBJ wanted to contest, he came to him, Egwon, that's big brother. I want to do this presidency thing. People are telling me to come on. And that he told him, you, Segun, who wants you there? It's not people like you that they want. He told me, Chief Awuni, he told me himself. But that he came back again, and then he called the people from the north to talk to them. Some were saying, but later, everybody was accommodating him gradually. In fact, the first time General Obasanjo will attend PDP function was after our local government election, and PDP had won 2/3. And so he came to the International Conference Center with Chief Titilayo Ajanaku. You know, they were wearing Adire, both of them that day, I remember. And they sat at the back. And I, Senator Anete Okon, two of us were the compare at that function. So I saw General Obasanjo was sitting. They so despised him. They said, we don't want any soldier here. That Anete Okon did not even recognize his presence. So I took a note to him and said, General Obasanjo is here, please announce his presence. And it was like, so since I was also the second compare, I had the right to announce people's presence. So Solomon La called him and said, I need to come. So when he went to Zuma, I just announced his presence. I said, and I called him all the names. He was very happy. Then he still sat at the back. I said, no, come to the front. You should be in the front. You can imagine the former head of state. So in the beginning like this, you have this kind of thing. People will despise you. Some people who think they have some advantage in the party structure. They will try to throw things at you, such as, it's not your turn, get out, go and sit down, who are you, and all that. So we have seen a lot in this country. But he went through all that, and he became the president. So I'm not deterred.
Right. And you still think the PDP is fit for purpose, no matter what Nigerians feel about how the party is being presented in public?
Well, it's still the most democratic party. This is my opinion. It has its own challenges. It has its own problems. But at least people are discussing, people are having. The other ones, when did they have their neck meeting? What are they quarreling over? What are they debating? They are not debating anything. They just pass instruction to them. They are not political parties. So, yeah, if you have a political party, despite the fact that it has a lot of problems, if you fight within it, you can still reform it. But if you have a cult where debate is not allowed, reform is impossible.
Why do you keep doubling down on the word cult?
Yeah, if you're a political party, you don't hold meetings, no debates, no motion, no disagreement. You must be a cult. Huh? Not a political party as we know it. If
One
you
which
did
is
political science, you must know the standard definition of political party. In every political party, there must be debate, there must be argument, there must be meetings. Some will say I agree, some will say I don't agree.
haven't we seen that disagreement in the APC most recently in dramatic fashion in Gombe during the
No, I'm talking
endorsement of
about
right,
at the national level.
right,
Yeah, they have their problem, but
right,
because they are in government, they are talking under the table.
right.
They cannot.
For most people, Doctor, it's off-cycle elections are like a referendum on the ruling party whenever you have elections off-cycle. And some would say if the recent results are anything to go by, APC is still popular with the population. What do you think about
There
that?
is a lot of problem with the results that are coming out, and that's why people are looking forward to electoral reform, which the APC is not interested in. But I'm very confident that whatever they do, they cannot rig the next general election. You can't be winning when you have shaved 50% of the GDP. You can't be winning when there is insecurity everywhere. Go out there and ask 100 people, who are you going to vote for in the next election? Hardly will you get 5 that will say, I will vote APC. So when you say you are winning and it contradicts what is going on the streets, then you must be fooling yourself and delusional. And everybody knows what is going on, and they want to lay the basis to rig the 2027 election. And it's not going to happen by the grace of God. It's not going to happen.
What the president's take on the economy is quite positive. I mean, you would expect that his narrative is going to differ from other people's opinions, right? But talk to me about the handling of the economy. Recently in Brazil, the president said, listen, the economy is looking positive.
How can it be positive?
I mean, he seems to believe that they're going to do a good job with their reforms.
Well, they hired a lot of propagandists to be saying this. I mean, we have to look at the statistics and the data. How can it be positive if in the past 10 years, the GDP has contracted by 50%? Nigeria was rated 2014 as having the biggest economy. Now, after 10 years of APC government, we are the 4th economy in Africa. All right? How can that be doing well? You know what inflation is. You know what interest rates are going for. Skyrocketing. You know the prices of goods and services. Okay, so what is the economy?
I just recently rebased the Nigerian economy, and from the outside looking in, it looks like their calculations seems to project Nigeria as an investor's haven, so to say. Why do you disagree with that?
I'm an investor myself, and I've invested a lot in Nigeria. What I know about investment is that if you, as a government, you are not investing in your country, nobody will invest in your country. You see China, the biggest investor in Chinese economy is the Chinese government itself. Then private sector will bring a fraction to follow your investment. But here, what is the investment that is going on? They're just wasting money on ventures that have no direct benefit on the national economy in terms of priorities.
So you think the coastal highway is a waste?
Absolute waste. It's not a priority. What revenue are you going to generate from that place with that level of resources? You should have invested that in increasing your daily crude production. If you invested that kind of money in increasing daily crude production, if they had that kind of money, by now, you would have achieved about 3 million to 3.5 million barrels of oil per day, daily production. It's a shame. Nigeria, you are doing about 1.82 million barrels per day. A country of 230 million people. And Saudi Arabia, a country of 35 million people, is doing over 9 million barrels of oil per day production. Is that not scandalous? And 50% of the daily production that we have now are coming from Agbami, Bonga, and some deep sea investments that were done since Babangida era. In the past 20 years, there has not been significant investment in what you call your mainstay, where you are getting your revenue from. That should have been, those are your own low-hanging fruits. At least if you are complaining that you don't have revenue to fund the budget, your first priority should be the low-hanging fruit. Yeah. Increase oil production, which you would have done through MPDC. They didn't invest in that. They are doing coastal road with their business partners. No bid, nothing. You know, that's just looking for money, really. They are not building any economy. Yeah.
And you seem to have ideas of your own about expanding the economy and creating a whole sort of value chain that would add jobs, address, some of the gaps that we're talking about.
We did present a plan as far back as 2019 to make Nigeria a $4 trillion economy within the shortest possible time. And we itemized some of the elements which we may not have time to go into the full. But let me just say this, that Nigeria has always been a great country. And that when our founding fathers came in right from the period of limited self-government, our economy was expanding along a trajectory. And it was not driven by oil investment. By the time the military came in 1966 and overthrew these founding fathers, the GDP of Nigeria was twice the GDP of Malaysia. Nigeria was 6.2 billion. Malaysia was just around 3.1 billion in 1966. Indonesia was 5.8 billion US dollars, about 400 less than Nigeria. $400 million less than Nigeria. You know what Indonesia's GDP is now? 1.3 billion US dollars. For the same economy that was not as big as Nigeria economy. And Nigeria, under these people who are full of propaganda and braggadocio, is going down. They say they are doing something fantastic.
Someone say, Doctor, you're comparing apples and oranges.
What is the apples and oranges? Indonesia,
population size,
Indonesia,
complexity of
Indonesia has more population than Nigeria. I think you don't know. Let me tell you, Indonesia has more population than Nigeria. Indonesia has like 40 million in numbers, bigger than Nigeria's population. It's not. I'm talking about apple to apple. If it is any apple to apple, Indonesia is the apple to be compared to the Nigeria economy. It's bigger than Nigeria in population. What do you mean by apples to apples? Those are the people that were Nigeria's peers at the period of early independence. And Nigeria was like their big brother in motivating them. As a matter of fact, all the palm nuts that was used to start the palm oil industry in Malaysia were taken from Nigeria. It was interesting to know that the palm nut, the palm fruit is indigenous to Nigeria, the Niger Delta. Anywhere you find it, it was imported from this place. So I think one of the problems that the military did was taking history from the books. So you have a lot of people who think that this disaster that you have now is who we have always been. We have not always been like this. This country has always been a great country. Nigeria was number one ahead of many nations, giving donations to even sponsoring Caribbean countries, sponsoring some other African countries, sending troops. We are talking about insecurity today. We stopped the war in Sierra Leone. We stopped the war in Liberia. We sent troops to Darfur from Nigeria. We sent troops even in the early period of our independence. We sent troops to Congo, stabilizing everywhere. When it comes to security in Africa, number one was Nigeria. We were producing vaccines from Yaba Vaccine Center for polio and some other likes up to 1987 for the whole of West Africa. Steer tractors in Bauchi was being assembled. Volkswagen was assembled in Lagos. Mercedes was being assembled, Aramco in Enugu. Namco in Enugu, they were assembling. So this country was a productive country, having industries. Alaja steel rolling mills. Glass was being manufactured in Nigeria. We have never always been a horrible thing like this. Now, for most young people, they didn't know this. And some older people who are part of this corruption, who are doing this thing, in the days of yore, such people would not have found themselves in political power. Credible people were the ones that were always elected in those days. You look at people like Abad Macaulay. Credible people who people were sure of their pedigree, where they were coming from. But now, just anything goes.
I mean, Doctor, how do you counter that with the narrative of the military who, at every point in time when they're taking over, use corruption as the baseline for why they need to take over government?
Yeah, when people take over, they always find an excuse to, when they want political power. I mean, as far as I knew, Sir Ahmadu Bello did not have any private house in London or anywhere, not even in Lagos, not to talk about London. I'm not sure he even had £100 in his bank account. I think he had IOUs that he took that were in his bank statement for a man that they are accused of so much corruption. You know, there are a lot of evil that were committed in the name of military coup in this country. And people rake up all kinds of things to justify what they have done. And as a country, one of the things that we need to do to reconcile properly is to apologize to the families of those who were killed. Injustice was done to Sir Ahmadu Bello, Akintola, and all these people. These people were just butchered. But we are healing as a country. But we need to get to a point where we even apologize formally. If we don't do this as a country, we'll have problems.
Right.
To have closure on some of these things. So there were these people were great people who had fantastic achievement. And since they departed, the country has been going down, 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 down. So we need to restore the country. We need to heal properly. We need to refocus. And that's why we're saying that what should drive the campaigns going forward will be, how do you unite the country? How do you secure the country? How do you restore the economy? How do you create jobs? That's what campaigns were about in the First Republic, not where you come from.
And just staying with the topic of the economy, the administration and some expert would say there's no quick fix to the problem that we're dealing with today. And people like you who say,
No,
"Oh,
no,
they,
no, no, no,
there-
no, 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 no. So, you know,
there's a different way.
in spite of...
There's a different way of doing it. That you are oversimplifying what it would take to address all of these structural gaps."
This is nonsense. Pure nonsense. You see, there's a way in which if you don't travel out of Nigeria, and at least just travel, come back, and see what small countries are doing, you will believe this kind of excuses. Qatar is a country of 360,000 people. It has one of the biggest sovereign wealth fund in the world. Intercontinental ballistic missiles were thrown at it. Yet they intercepted all the missiles. Not a single one destroyed a single blast in Doha. Under these people are being chased around by boys that are not wearing boots. The same army that stopped the war, you don't know that we are regressing. Somebody is saying there are no quick fix, and you listen to that kind of conversation. So how long will it take to stop the rot? Please.
But is there an easy way out of this? Addressing security, unemployment, poverty. Would it happen overnight?
What is overnight?
Say in a 4-year
APC
term,
has been in 10 years. When does it? I told you that it took Chief Obafemi Awolowo to create Ilukweju Industrial Estate, Agbara Industrial Estate, less than 3-4 years. It took Sir Ahmadu Bello, less than those numbers. By the time the colonialists were leaving power and handing over to our nationalists, there were only 37-bed hospital beds in the whole of Western region. Within 2 years of independence, they had 10 times that size. And they were doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling it. If you know what you are doing, it doesn't take eternity to fix the rot in Nigeria. Now, you have people who lack imagination and creativity. And they want to limit our own reality by their own lack of imagination. And they want to constrain our abilities to think properly and imagine that their limited vision is just the only thing we have in the world as a people. Nigerian people must reject that narrative. We are better than that. We are not this. We have always been better.
All right. There are people who would say, listen, someone like Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, for instance, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, recently paid a visit to the president, and she has quite some positive things to say about the economic reforms that the administration is undertaking.
Ngozi is now a diplomat.
The question is...
Ngozi is now a diplomat. No longer Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. As a diplomat, when you go to a country, even if it's your country, there is a way you will talk that you will not ordinarily talk like that if you were not a diplomat.
So you don't think she's being honest?
Well, I think she was diplomatic, really. She was diplomatic. That's the way I want to consider. I won't say she was not honest. I think I would say that she spoke as a diplomat and she could not have embarrassed her host. That would be undiplomatic.
Right. As a final thought before we wrap things up, some would consider the ADC as the alternative main opposition party to the PDP. Do you think that the coalition is taking over the momentum as the main opposition party in the country in the build-up to 2027?
Well, I don't see the converse. I don't want to frame my response as a competition between opposition parties. I think there's a need for cooperation by every party, and not just parties, people like you, journalists, to rescue Nigeria, labor, and all that. So it's not a job of competition between What is confronting Nigeria is more serious than all this pettiness. You know what is confronting us? By end of 2027, if we don't have a fundamental change in the way we are governing ourselves, we may have a kind of terror-backed state shooting out of present-day Zamfara, Kebbi, part of Katsina and part of Kaduna. Before, what you have been skirmishes and all that, but what I'm seeing, you may have an ISIS-like state rising from that place. I don't see seriousness in dealing with the security situation, and that's what really, I'm scared of. But I see that a lot of people, they just think it's just business as usual, jolly go, we're going to have another election, ADC, I think it's a more serious problem we are confronting, and we have to take getting out of this mess more seriously than we are taking it as a people.
Dr. Gbenga Hashim, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I appreciate you very much.
It's my pleasure to be with you. God bless you. Thank you for having me.
And that wraps it up for tonight's edition of the program. Thank you most kindly for joining us on Daily Politics. We'll be back tomorrow live at 8 p.m, exclusive as always on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. From myself and the rest of the team, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.